Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Rolo Runs the City podcast with JT. I am your co-host JT, and on the other end is my brother from another mother. Rolo runs the city, and he literally runs the city. How you doing today, my brother?
Doing well, sir. Good to be here. Good to do this thing and good to get it going.
All right, that's what I like to hear, man. That's some good stuff to put out here. All right. So today's topic will be on integrity, which is episode 6 of the show. So I'm glad you all tuning into this. And so without further ado, I'd like to ask my brother, what is integrity in your opinion?
Integrity, man, is definitely something that is not really exercised in today's society as often as it needs to be. However, it does exist. Of course, it's just holding yourself uh, to a high standard and being accountable for your own actions, whether somebody's looking or not. And, all the time, I always tell myself, if you think about it, I'm like, okay, I always have the old adage of what would Jesus do? And I'm not stating like I'm just the ultimate Christian or things of that nature. I'm very spiritual. Of course, I have a great relationship with my creator. However, I wouldn't consider myself to be religious. I don't go to church every Sunday, but that's my true feeling. Like whenever, whenever it gets down to it, it's just about it's basically holding yourself accountable, whether if somebody's looking or not. Like if I work out and I'm crushing a workout, and then let's say the next day I don't work out, but I say to somebody or even like put it out on a tweet or however I want to put it, right? And say, yeah, man, just got through a good workout. But that was like a tweet that could have been applied to yesterday's workout because I didn't do anything in the current moment at that time. It's like, yeah, nobody knows, but it's like, where's your integrity at? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it's just holding yourself accountable, whether someone is looking or not looking, and like I said, it goes back to the old adage of what would Jesus do? You know what I'm saying? So, no one in this or in this earth, in this world walking is perfect. And of course, Jesus Christ was perfection. You know what I'm saying? But doesn't mean that we can't all strive to become perfect, even though it may seem to be the unattainable. However, why not strive for that? So that's basically what integrity is to me. It's just being honest with yourself. Sometimes they always say there's three sides to the story. There's his side, her side, and then there's the truth. You know what I'm saying? And the sad reality is a lot of people don't recognize their truth. And the reason why I say that, it's because they're so consistently lying to themselves that their truth is a lie. So we have to be really careful about how we are and how we move as individuals. And always remember, man, like I could lie to myself and lie in my brain all day, but everybody else knows the truth. So at the end of the day, if you want to accept something as your truth, even though it's a lie, feel free to do so. But it's not going to get you very far. So you might as well get with the program, get with the rest of life, get with reality, and just ultimately do what you can to be as honest that you can towards the situation. That's why they call it the ugly truth. There's nothing pretty about it, but that's when integrity kicks in. So it's your job to make sure that you are honest with yourself and honest with the situation and calling things for what they are at all times. What's your take on it, sir?
That's one integrity is one of the hardest things to go by, man. Like if it's not the hardest, it's gotta be one of the hardest by far. Um to always want to do the right thing is always hard because sometimes you may not like have I'm saying you might not be, you know, at a point where you feel like you need to be responsible, and you could just go and do something right quick, and you could thrown off totally off guard. So yeah, it's one of them things where like man, like you really have to really work hard on yourself as a person to be a better person overall, and it's just being like you say being accountable for yourself. Um, so I'm gonna leave off on that question, which gonna lead me to my next question, and that's gonna be why do you feel like integrity is so important?
It's definitely important because, like I said in the previous statement about basically what it is to me is like it's just about accountability. And what happens is that you have a lot of people who you know this is a trait. I'm not stating that it's whether if it's in somebody ingrained in them, at birth or something that has to be learned. That's not what I'm stating. But what I'm saying is that a lot of people do know that exists. Whether if they practice it or not is another thing. So for me, I always try to make sure that I do what I can because, you know, it's how can I put it? I mean, I'll put it this way. If you lack integrity and you're doing things which involve other people, it comes to a point where, you know, at some point you're going to run into many people who do exercise integrity. And what's going to happen is that they're going to start looking at you as a person that can't be trusted. And it also chips away at your confidence whenever somebody, actually calls you out on your own BS and they're like, you know what, you're not being truthful about the situation. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. And, we've had enough of it. We left you enough rope to hang yourself with. And that's exactly what you did. So we're going to just leave it at that. We no longer want to do business with you. And then it comes to a point where it hurts. It hurts you not only can it hurt your confidence, but it also can hurt you financially as well. So you always want to make sure that you're conducting yourself with good business, doing what you're supposed to do, and just being truthful at all times. And like I said, the truth may be ugly, but it's the truth. So if something needed to get done that didn't get done, you want to be honest and forthcoming with it. And if you're meeting a deadline or some sort of timeline that has to be met, it's like, hey, am I able to get an extension? This is what happened. I ran into some hiccups here and there. Instead of saying, oh, no, no, it's okay, we got it. We're going to make it happen. And then next thing you know, it's like deadline comes, you didn't make it happen. It's like, oh, no, no, we're still in the process of making it happen. But in reality, the project hasn't even gotten started. So, that's the difference between somebody who you want to do business with that's honest and forthcoming and, someone who specializes in being a liar and wants to BS their way through life. So that's how I feel about it. What's your take, bud?
All right. Well, I look at it as this. Okay, it's about being like if you are being focused and or responsible for like whatever actions you have going on or whatever task or situations you're trying to achieve. It's one of those things where it's so easy to get thrown off track, but sometimes those instances can actually make or break whatever you're trying to do. um it's not that you necessarily have to be like 100% on point with what you got going on because if you was that type of person, I'm sure you probably have a rough life because all you do is work and no play. But you have to know how to balance. You have to balance it to where you can still focus on what your accomplishment or what your goal is trying to reach. At the same time, it's like you have to take your mind off of things maybe a little just to not overwhelm yourself. So um it's everybody's different. So just because like a person might have a certain balance that they can deal with to not have anything or outside interfere with what they got going on. But as people, that's things you have to work on. You have to know what you can handle and cannot handle. You have to know when something is actually throwing you off guard, when something actually stopping you before you need to get to. So I mean that's basically my take on that question as far as being important. And
Yeah, JT, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I totally agree with that. And the reason why I say this is because you just pointed out something that businesses always go through, and they steady on a decline and end up faltering because it comes to a point where they make promises they can't keep, where it's like they can't handle the demand for the supply that they're trying to go ahead and dish out. Like if you're doing a startup company, for instance, let's say we're in warehousing and we've got X amount of clients, and we come out of nowhere and we say, oh, we're going to be able to distribute this much during this month. It's like, okay, well, we're going to have to get double the distribution for this month. And you got maybe 3 or 4 clients that are saying the same thing. And then you're like, oh, it's not a problem. We can definitely meet that deadline. It's not an issue. But next thing you know, not only are you overworking the situation, but there's a possibility you're not even going to be able to meet that demand just because greed got in the way. And that also tears integrity as well. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. Sometimes people just make promises they can't keep. And it's not because they don't want to keep them, but it's because the greed got to them to a point where they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to do this because this is going to help our bottom line. And then next thing you know, they're in a situation where they can't meet the demand and the companies end up faltering. And I've seen plenty of companies go through that. And it's funny because I've been a part of companies that have went through that as well, where people have lost contracts and ultimately people ended up losing jobs. So I'm glad you pointed that out.
yeah, that was a good example too. And I'm gonna add on to your recent statement here. Sometimes you don't. I know you don't want to have to tell someone that no, and you can't meet their demands. But I would, and like I say, I see this with businesses too. If you get to a point where you just trying to make everyone happy, now the people who are working with or for you, now you're having them to go and push harder and trying to make very, really steep obstacles of things that are really pretty much sometimes impossible to be done or sometimes really can't be done, but you're just still trying to come with a will or a way. And things can get ugly, things can get worse, things can get out of hand. There could be a lot of miscommunication, a lot of just the whole overall plan could be a total screw up, waste of time. So sometimes you got to know, like, hey, this is why you have your guidelines, and those should be met. If those things can't be met, sometimes you have to tell that person no, and hopefully that for the next time that they can understand, okay, these are your rules, these rules are strict. If you like sometimes if you give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile. They'll just, hey, well, I'm gonna do this all the time because I might just wait till the last minute, but I know they got my back because they've always been doing this for me, so why stop now?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I've seen that plenty of times. And I feel like the most successful businesses are the most stern businesses. They say, okay, this is what demands can be met. This is something that we'll have to work on. Right now, we don't have the manpower or the ability to do this at this time. Or, you have to make sure that you give us, whether it's a 48-hour notice or even a week out, just to meet the demands that just to meet the demand that they want. You know what I mean? So I totally get that, man. Great example.
You appreciate it, man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the last question, and it basically states, like when it comes to integrity, like how does it affect you in your life? Was it positive ways or negative ways? Was your ways you can share?
Well, definitely. I'll put it to you like this. I wasn't always a person of integrity, and I can be flat out honest with it. It would be to a point where procrastination was killing my life. You know what I'm saying? And there would be deadlines that needed to be met. And I would be one of those people that would try to talk in circles to make things sound good, but I didn't get anything done. And that was something that really impacted me. I've you know, even been in situations where I've lost employment because of that. And not necessarily because I got fired, but it was because, hey, we're laying off, we're doing this and we're doing that. And it's like, yeah, yeah, you're kindly letting me go is basically what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So, But because I was a good worker and I had a good attitude, they were like, well, we definitely don't want to go ahead and just crap all over this guy. He brings it every day and does what he needs to do. But just the fact that he procrastinates and does things last minute, that's not going to be a good look for what we're trying to get done. So, you know, that right there was just, it was a wake up call. And, that situation from there on out, I was like, nope, that's not going to happen to me anymore because I know the type of worker I am. I know what I bring to the table. So I need to go ahead and stop lying to myself. I need to start exercising some more integrity and doing what needs to get done. And ever since then, I've never had a problem ever since with people, and it's crazy because I've been in several situations where I would never think about managing a team or even managing like in the warehouse industry and manufacturing, managing 3 plants. I actually got offered a job back in trying to remember. I think it was like in fact it was before COVID, okay? It was like back in February. I was offered a job to manage 3 plants. And basically what they did was they manufactured chlorine tablets and stuff like that, right? And they actually understood because of a job I had prior, and they've gotten in contact with folks and they said, wow, he shows great leadership qualities. He could definitely change the culture of what you're trying to get done. So I actually got offered that and I ended up declining the position because, unfortunately, I ended up in a situation where it was like, my wife's always, consistently, on her grind and actually in working, and I had to attend to my son who needs extra attention. So, and being the fact that he wasn't in school yet, so I was like, okay, well, what comes first, business or family. So, you know what I'm saying? So family definitely comes
Facts.
first. You know what I'm saying? I had to be honest with the situation, and I went ahead and I told them that I respectfully declined the position because of the fact that I ended up in a situation where I was like, my son, he really needs a lot of my attention right now, and I was hoping I was going to be able to, get him off in school and do what he needed to do. However, things didn't happen that way, and family comes first. They respectfully understood. They said, we understand. And I mean, it was a good situation and it was a good feeling. Not only to, of course, be there for my family, but understanding the fact, homie, that I turned down a job that I was going to be making great money. And it felt good to turn it down, knowing that not only was I being there for my family, but I didn't necessarily need that job. So then that way I can make the ends meet. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have, that situation that they've run into that they can actually decline things. But I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful to do so. And I truly hope that people can take from this podcast and say, hey, I want to apply this to my life too. I want to go ahead and I want to listen to these guys show and listen to their one word topics and what they're talking about and hopefully apply it to their lives, because I'm going to tell you just like this, man. I write these words down and I define this stuff myself and I apply it every day to do what I can to change my life for the better. So that's what happened with me. So, what's your take on your side, sir? How did it
Yeah,
impact you?
man. That was an interesting story. Um, just like before I get to me, I was gonna, piggyback off what you said. Um, I feel like, the decision you made, it was this. Yeah, because the money was on the table. Like I said, they could have, have you some financial happiness or what the case may be. But I think you look at the bigger picture and you said, if you took the job because of, the mentality that you had or the reason why you rejected it, you would have just you wouldn't have took it as probably serious as the next person who would have, who would have applied and got the job, whatever, because they may not have as much as uh, obstacles in the way as you did. Um, you're rolling there. Okay, I'm just making
Yeah, I'm here,
sure.
buddy. I'm
It
here.
sounds kind of crazy. Weather's bad out here, but just want to keep a check. All right.
Yeah, no, no, it's good. Yeah, but yeah, definitely, man. I mean, look, the way I seen it was hopefully that situation, somebody did get the opportunity to go ahead and step into that position. Hopefully they were able to hold it down. I know they wouldn't be able to hold it down like me because, like I said, my work ethic and then my integrity at the same time, being harsh at the same time, being fair, you know, that's how I create a good balance and good rapport with people, period, let alone if anybody that would, that would work directly under me would go through there and say, hey, because I don't believe in giving anybody an inch.
Exactly.
They'll take a mile, and I'm not gonna do that. But at the same token, they would know, hey, if I have a problem, this guy is, he goes to bat for me. Like I trust this guy, and I think that's a big thing with integrity, and to exercise that daily, because you know, like I said, you have to be a person if you're willing to take on a task. You have to be a person that's going to be, basically taking on the task full force. And unfortunately, I wasn't going to be able to commit to the position. And I couldn't do that because, you know, if I do something, I got to be all in. So if I'm all in at the
Right.
job, I'm all in at the job. If I'm in with my family, I'm all in with my family. If I can do all that at the same time, I will. But if something is lacking or, if things happen to be shortchanged, I won't do it. So it's either one or the other. And to me, family comes first. And at the end of the day, that goes to show you that that's not the end of the rainbow. So keep following the rainbow. The pot of gold is there. And this, my man Cameron Giles said it best. You can't get paid and the earth is big. You worthless kid. You don't even deserve to live. Losing weight, part one. Don't forget that. So anyway, that's my take on it. That's
Alright.
it in a
Yeah,
nutshell.
man, but that was straight facts you were spitting there, man. Well, this gonna sum it up for episode 6 of Rolo Runs the City with JT. Um, it was a pleasure of doing this show as always. Just giving you the real raw facts, man, and just giving you our experiences and just trying to build ourselves and hopefully touching others as well. So with that being said, I'm going to let Rolo uh, carry us out, man.
All right, everybody. I'm really glad that people listened today, listened to it in its entirety. Hopefully, you guys grabbed them gems that we done dropped. We're very grateful for your listenership, and definitely feel free to hit us up at Roller Runs the City on Twitter and Instagram, and feel free to hit my man up, JT at So Amazing 247 on Instagram as well. Definitely check us out. You know what we're about. You know what we're trying to get done. Let's make it happen. Let's do what we do. And I am Rolo, and I do run the city. And as soon as quarantine is over completely, and I'm talking about when we get ready to go ahead and get on that trail, we're going to do this Peachtree Road race, and I'm going to run the ATL again, just like I did last year. So you guys take care. Godspeed. I'm very grateful for you guys' listenership, and stay tuned for the
Also,
next one.
remember, freedom ain't free until we live in free. All right, man, we out.